Justice Thurgood Marshall should be to Baltimore as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is to Atlanta.
If ever there was a historian of Baltimore's Upton community, it's Reverend Dr. Alvin Hathaway.
You were actually in the 1300 block of Division Street, which is where the Justice Thurgood Marshall Amenity Center is located. And I was born 2 blocks away in the 1500 block, and I served in ministry some 27 years in this community. PS 103 means that this was the segregated schools. The colored school system started at 100. So this is the 3rd colored school that comes online.
Can you explain kind of the neighborhood setup of where we are?
West Baltimore, in terms of the African American community, was really created after the Great Fire in Baltimore in 1904. They condemned much of Baltimore City, and they basically steered the African American community here, and that created the largest historic African American district in the country.
What are the moments and the memories that really stand out as significance to you when you think about civil rights in Baltimore?
By being the pastor of Union Baptist Church. That was a church founded in 1852. So I look at 1883 when 4 members of our church get on a steamship and they go from Norfolk to Baltimore, and they are discriminated against. That becomes the first suit that really challenges the Plessy decision in 1857. And then later on, Thurgood Marshall cites that case as its pivotal case in terms of his Brown versus Board decision. I've been really blessed not only to study it, to live it. I'm a seasoned senior, but I've had the unique ability to really understand the history of this community, its people and personalities. So I have 1 foot in the past and then a toe into the future. Education always was the hallmark of the African American community, particularly in Baltimore City.
Looking at these 2 kind of generations, what do you think civil rights and fighting for civil rights means now in 2024 versus what you've seen historically in this community?
The timeline for civil rights is defined as 1954 to 1968. I appreciate and love my brothers in Atlanta, but they were picking cotton when we were in the freedom movement. I would argue that in Baltimore, we need a longer timeline.
This city is ripe with so many unknown stories that correlate to some of the biggest names in civil rights, both past and present. The Lillie Carroll Jackson Civil Rights Museum almost feels like you shouldn't be able to walk through it. The feelings I'm getting about Baltimore, like it's a city of initiators.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's
Starters,
a city of initiators. There's this educational activism underbelly that is also really prominent in what I'm learning as well. You walk through a place like this wishing you could have a split screen of the others that sat in the same room decades before you. I haven't been to Morgan State since 2013 with No Madness Travel Tribe, so I've been really looking forward to this meetup.
We just show up, support each other no matter where we are.
The civil rights movement and the city of Baltimore, what do both of those mean to you?
It means change, it means showing up, it means advocacy.
I learned something about the contributions of the city, particularly the students here at Morgan.
Morgan and the city of Baltimore have done a lot.
There's a lot of sacrifice made here in Baltimore.
Civil rights is just all around.
For me, it's like a badge of honor.
Acts of bravery that made the life that I enjoy today what it is.
While this is my first time meeting Devin Allen in real life, I was introduced to him through his work back in 2015. Who could forget the Time magazine cover of the Baltimore Uprising as shot in the streets of his hometown? The image is iconic, but so is Devin.
3rd generation, grandmother moved up here. I grew up in West Baltimore too. So born and raised, never lived anywhere else. Used to hate the city because of the trials and tribulations and some of the stuff I went through, but became an artist and then fell in love with it, decided to stay, give back, and be the change I wanted to see in the community. For most of my life, I was in the street culture, I was hustling, and then had a daughter and wanted to be different. My friend inspired me to get into art. I picked up the camera and then I've just been running with it ever since.
A beautiful ghetto. What inspired it? What was the process for you in putting that piece together?
It came out of nowhere. I never wanted to even do a book, didn't know how to, but I wanted to show like everyday life in West Baltimore, just in Baltimore in general, but also wanted to show the resilience of the city.
What does activism look like in the city of Baltimore?
Like Baltimore, we built different, we do the work. So activism is something that I think is ingrained in the culture. We're very resilient.
I see it like this. D. Watkins is Baltimore's honorary neighborhood storyteller.
I didn't know how storytelling touched every aspect of my life. But I do remember sitting outside on the block as a small child, falling asleep because I should have been in the house way past anybody's respectable bedtime. But I didn't want to miss anything because the women and the men from my neighborhood could make a trip to the corner store sound like Indiana Jones or something. I think storytelling has always been a part of me.
I want to talk also about Black Boy Smile. How did that project come to be? What is it for somebody who's never heard about it?
It's how a whole lot of young Black men are taught to be a man through a societal lens. Black Boy Smile was a difficult book to write because you have to look at yourself and look in the mirror, and you have to acknowledge how bad you've been as a person. And but you also have to understand that you can come back from that and be a better person and be a person to try to help other people avoid some of the mistakes you've made.
When you think of civil rights then and now, what comes to mind for you?
The basketball coach. I think about the teacher. I think about the truck driver. I had a homie who he did like 10 years in prison, and then he came home and he got his CDL, and he helping little dudes from the hood get CDLs, and now they getting 6-figure jobs, you know, because he realized that the streets lied to him. He wasn't gonna be this Michelin-starred James Beard award-winning dope dealer. He was just gonna be a statistic.
What is your love letter to the city of Baltimore?
Love where you come from, love who you are, love the legacy, love where you're at, and love where you're gonna go.